All work and no play make Alina Clover one angry receptionist. Meet the Senior Guild Receptionist, Alina Clover, who has everything she could want: a steady income, job security, and a manageable workload. What makes her unique is a phenomenal power that can wipe out dungeon bosses in one hit. One day, a few adventurers saw her monstrous feats, and now she deals with the relentless requests of a certain adventurer wanting her to join his party. Can she handle her job, hide her excursions, and avoid the party request? Let's find out. Alina Clover narrates the history and importance of the guild receptionists. She recounts that they are the unspoken backbone of the adventuring guild, assigning dungeons and handling its related paperwork, all the while receiving safety, security, and a stable income. A job with no faults. Or at least, that was how she used to think. The narration ends with a very annoyed Alina calling in the next customer amidst a noisy crowd. The clamor focuses on the arrival of a heavily armored knight, as those very adventurers are shocked to see the legendary ruthless Gonzu of the Silver Party. Alina, however, is more frustrated at this old man meandering about instead of getting to the desk. The noise only gets worse when the adventurer Gonzu requests the Underground Ruins quest, which contains the legendary Hellflame Dragon. As Gonzu goes on about how it is only natural that his crew go after the beast, boasting about how no monster can match him, Alina merely mutters that the man is slow in clearing dungeons as well. Centering herself, she informs the adventurer that, accounting for the level of the dungeon, he needs either a first-class license or a second-class license while being accompanied by a group of 4. Upon her requesting said license, the man scoffs, reminding her that he is of the famous Silver Sword Party and does not need to bother. Once again keeping her temper in check, she admits to herself that the Relic Alma is evidence enough of his identity, considering its power and renown, but reminds Gonzu that the procedure is there for the adventurer's benefit and safety. After a few more unsuccessful attempts, the adventurer relents and finally presents his license and leaves Alina free to get on with her job. Later at night, Alina finds herself exhausted and miserable. Her co-workers left her with the workload. All of it has to be done in a single day, and all she wants is to go back to her home and never leave. And who is to blame for all of this? Herself? No. Her co-workers? No. The adventurers? No. It was all the fault of that damn boss. The dragon is the final boss of the dungeon, and so long as it is alive, monsters will keep pouring out, which will bring more adventurers, which means more work for her. Her life now is little more than an endless cycle of work and sleep. Finally, she snaps. She used to think that this mess was only temporary, but it is clear none of the adventurers can handle it. She employs her last resort to solve this as she signs a first-class solo expedition for the very boss that caused her grief. Later at night, in the Belfra Underground Ruins, the dragon can be seen in its fearsome glory, facing off against the legendary Silver Sword Party. Yet, it is clear the adventurers are not up to stuff, with the Relic Alma shattered and Gonzu on his knees. Just as the party plans a retreat, a mysterious person appears and summons a weapon, Hammer of the Giant God. The stranger, who is clearly Alina, lands one strike at the dragon with the hammer and knocks it down. As it lay there, all of her resentment and frustration is laid bare as she pulverizes the dragon into nothing while yelling about her work life. With the boss gone and the party stunned at what they saw, Gonzu exclaims that the adventurer could be none other than the Executioner, a legendary figure who solos tough bosses. As Alina walks past the party leader and back home, the man is stunned at the face he caught a glimpse of. The face of a young woman. The next day, Alina cheerfully waves off another adventurer. She finds the guild to be quieter than ever, a dream come true for her. Yet, she has no time to enjoy it as she panics over the news regarding the once rumored executioner and the Silver Sword Party's request for information regarding them. This is further explained by 2 random adventurers who also remark on the retirement of Gonzu and how they wish to be a part of such a famous group. They go on further to say it is only a matter of time before the executioner's identity is discovered. Their talk only serves to ruin Alina's mood further, as there is one very important rule that all receptionists must follow: no side jobs. A receptionist needs to be in optimal physical and mental condition in order to handle their work. A side job would affect that. Furthermore, Alina's little dungeon excursions and license forgery are already enough to get her kicked out for good. For Alina, the receptionist job is a godsend. Strong benefits, stable income, and being a part of the only lifetime contract ensures she has permanent job security in this cruel world of capitalism. As she thinks of all she has, Alina gets the resolve to make sure that nothing will take away her job. Meanwhile, at the arena of Eifor City, a battle between two adventurers takes place with the Silver Sword party member Jade Scrade observing. As he witnesses the female fighter masterfully knock out her opponent, Jade goes on a tangent about the different types of skills. The basic form of skill that adventurers have is the human primary skill, and it is one that stays within a human's range of abilities. The skill the girl was using is a super skill, and it is one that breaks through human limits to grant extraordinary abilities. Yet he feels that the power the executioner displayed went beyond that. His thoughts are interrupted by an older gentleman who declares that few can show the power the young woman in the arena displayed, and doubts there is any human who can beat the dragon in one blow when an ancient relic is no match. His opinion is concurred by one of Jade's teammates, Lullery Ashford, who scolds Jade for continuing this fruitless chase. The information they have on the executioner is negligible, and while Jade claims he saw a woman, the form has a man's name on it. She further berates him for wasting time on this matter when, as their party's leader, he should be focusing on finding a new attacker for their team with Gonzu retiring. As Jade walks the streets, he reaffirms that he must find this mysterious adventurer, but has no idea how as his investigation has given him no lead. Thinking further about the girl's hammer, he realizes that it could only be the fabled divine skill, a power considered a blessing from God, but has long since been extinct. This also leads him to examine the relic dropped by the dragon and the executioner's complete disinterest in it, pondering their motive. Suddenly, he takes note of a young woman with black hair and emerald green eyes, matching the executioner's visage perfectly. Ash follows her. He finally takes note of her uniform and her location, at the guild counter, wearing a receptionist's uniform. Alina Clover barely contains her panic as the popular and powerful tank of the Silver Swords, Jade Scrade, arrives. This dashing hero also happens to have been present during her one-sided beatdown against the dragon. That very adventurer has also just requested a private meeting with her. As she meets the man with influence, rivaling a guild executive, Alina is aware that she has to be careful with what she says. Jade asks her if she has seen a powerful hammer user, one who was part of the Belfast dungeon a month ago. Alina calmly informs him of her ignorance, and as it finally seems like her troubles are over, Jade remarks having caught a glimpse of the person, stating that they had black hair and emerald green eyes, much like the receptionist in front of him. Alina has an internal breakdown over her possible loss of leisure and future, and how she would always prefer overworking at the guild to living the risky life of an adventurer. Yes, she truly loves it. So much so that she will not give it up now. Jade cheerfully chats with Alina about his investigations and hands her the dragon's relic, stating that it is rightfully hers. Alina then informs him of the significance of relics. They are the symbol of the ancestors' knowledge and power, made of a substance harder than any modern material. After saying this, she grabs the relic in her hand and crushed it to pieces. She further goes on to inform him that if he shows his face here again, he will end up like the dragon. Jade takes the hint and scampers off. As Alina cheerfully skips home, she finds that her troubles are not over. She spots Jade waiting for her. As she tries to leave, Jade stops her with his skill, Guardian of the Iron Wall, keeping her in place so they can finally talk. He brings her to an alley for a private conversation, but is cut short by Alina's nearly making him into a pancake. She makes it clear that she will not have her position to be threatened. Jade then changes the topic to her hammer and how it may be a divine skill, to Alina's skepticism. As Alina is about to finish the job, Jade discusses why he is really here. His team has lost their attacker and would like her to join his party. He admits that after seeing her display of power, all he could think about is her. Annoyed, and a little creeped out, she makes it clear that the only reason she killed the dragon was to avoid overtime, and that she would never go for the unstable life of an adventurer, while also making it clear there would be consequences if he tries this again. As she walks away, Jade, though fearful, resolves not to give up. The next morning, Alina awakens with the depressing realization that she has been found out. She wants nothing more than to stay in bed in this house that she has acquired thanks to her position as a guild receptionist. Later in the day, her lunch break finally arrives, but it is marred by the continuous coincidental arrival of Jade Scrade. As she is about to make herself a nice pancake with his remains, Jade switches the topic to her divine skill and how she activated it. Of course, she tells him nothing, but it allows him to go on a tangent about the unique nature of skills and how different it is from magic. Ultimately, she tells him to stop slacking off and heads back to work. Trouble continues to follow her as the guild finds itself welcoming the loud, brash, and rude first-class adventurer, Slay Ghost. The man is harassing a junior receptionist over some quest. Alina steps between the two and handles Slay, who is harping about these secret quests. Alina tells him what the other receptionist had said. There is no secret quest, though he does not believe that. The problem is, the secret quest genuinely does not exist, a mere rumor started by adventurers. Slay, however, firmly believes in its existence and accuses Alina that the guild wants to keep the relics for themselves and throws a greater tantrum after being told the same thing again. As Alina gives him a look of pure disinterest, his temper rises further, and he attempts to strike her, but is stopped by the adventurer Jade Scade. He warns Slay to stop his actions, so Slay retaliates against him, only to be given a clear demonstration of the difference in strength between them. As he runs away, Alina relaxes and the glow of her skill vanishes, her identity saved. Jade tries to warn Alina to be careful, but she simply asks what he is doing in the guild, freezing him in place considering their prior engagement. Realizing the danger, he makes an excuse for his appearance and heads off. Slay can be seen grouching over his confrontation with Jade and the look in the receptionist's eyes. Suddenly, he spots a captured clay golem, likely brought in to make materials. Upon seeing the creature, an idea forms in his mind, causing him to laugh as he can now finally get payback. As Jade walks around, he ponders how to get Alina to join his party, as it must be her choice for a unified front, but those thoughts are interrupted by people running from a monster rampage. He heads over to the scene to be shocked by the damage caused by the monster. As he saves the life of an adventurer, he is informed that the creature is a raid boss, a being far more powerful than a normal boss and requires a minimum of 3 party members to defeat it. The adventurer also tells him that the boss was brought for harvesting and should have been asleep, but something woke it up. As if on cue, a voice can be heard laughing from the golem, and it is the voice of Slay Ghost. He boasts that his super skill disruptor of dreams allows him to take control of the golem, and though Jade warns him of the danger he is causing, his rage has driven him mad and he is willing to destroy the entire city over his perceived disrespect. The golem activates its death crush, but Jade manages to block its effect, though without a healer he has no idea how long he will last. He tells the adventurers to call for help, but Slay has another trick up his sleeve as he commands the golem to unleash an attack that is spread across the city, turning the gravel blasts into miniature golems that will wreak havoc on the city. Meanwhile, Alina finds herself once again forced to do overtime as her manager orders her to write up a contract before leaving. Upon hearing the commotion, she goes outside to check it out only to see Slay clearly up to something. Unsurprised, she states that it is only natural that an idiot like him would react in such a manner. However, as she sees the golem's area of effect attack, a thought crosses her mind and she rushes off from rooftop to rooftop only to see her house's rooftop collapse. A victim of the golem's rampage, especially when the insurance for the house will not be able to cover this. As the gravel turns into a golem, her rage overwhelms her, and she blows it away, leaving her alone with the remains of her house. It is there that she resolves to end the man who has caused her such grief, Slay Ghost. Back at the battle, the adventurers find themselves on losing ground as the golem wipes them away, and its location in the city prevents any extreme attacks. Just as Slay was about to go again, a glowing light flies towards the golem and severs its arm from its body. That glowing light was, of course, Alina Clover. Jade is shocked to find the executioner here, and upon hearing his words, the rest of the adventurers mutter and comment on the fabled figure. Jade warns her to be careful, but Slay takes a special interest in crushing the one the guild has spent so much effort in finding. As Jade discusses strategies to employ, Alina ignores him and moves forward, talking about the loss of her oasis, her home, and that he is the one who took her heaven from her. With that said, she leaps into the air and brings her hammer down, breaking off another of the golem's arms. As the creature puts its focus on her, Jade uses his skill to redirect it back to him, evidence of his talent and reputation as a tank. With an aura of dread, she leaps again to begin her attack. Slade tries to command the golem, but its options are limited without arms, and it would have been for naught as Alina brings the hammer down on the golem's head, severing it while cleaving the body in two, defeated. All of the adventurers present are dumbfounded at the power she displayed, defeating the golem in a single blow. As she goes towards the man responsible for this mess, he tries to scamper away. Alina asks if he was ever taught not to break other people's property and of the consequences. She raises her hammer and she brings it down on the claimer. He screams in terror and finally lets out a sorry loud enough for the city to hear. As the dust settles, Slade can be seen alive if not well, passed out from fear. Jade tries to put a positive spin on the situation, but Alina is not having it. As she shows him the damage to her house, Alina laments over the entire situation. Her place of healing is gone, and she still has to pay back the 30-year loan on the house. As she sits, dejected, Jade, red in the face and embarrassed, Alina immediately shoots down that plot thread and states that she will obviously stay at an inn. She complains about the many hours of extra work Slade has brought her, and tells Jade to leave her alone now. Later at night, two figures are investigating the scene of the battle for the executioner. The spectacled woman asks why the older gentleman is so fixated on this singular individual when there are many other vanguards within the guild. The older man states that the executioner has a potential that can outshine all others thanks to their divine skill, though they must still see it beforehand. He goes on to say that he concurs with the Silver Sword leader Jade in regards to having the executioner in their party. Exasperated, the woman agrees to the older man's point. The man who is also the guild master, the highest executive in the guild, Glenn Gallia. Glenn remarks to himself that the executioner has made a mistake. By involving himself in this fight, he can finally learn more about them, though he is grateful for them saving the city of Eifer. He activates his skill, the Observer of Time, and through it, Alina's identity may finally be revealed. Late into the night, a frustrated Alina wishes further suffering on the one who caused her misery as she continues her work. She finds herself being consoled by Jade, though she is more irritated at his presence. Jade asks why she is so late, and Alina remarks that she has learned the important lesson of leaving work for tomorrow, as that will simply be the problem of future Alina, and that Alina will not have the motivation to work overtime. She further talks about how, with the damage caused by the golem, all of the inns are likely full, and she can simply sleep at work. Hearing this, Jade once again offers his place for rest, stating that at such tumultuous times, leaving a girl on her own is very risky, an idea that a powerhouse like her scoffs at. Jade then states that he is done with the documents she gave him, and Alina is shocked to find that the papers are meticulously organized and even corrected. As she asks if he has ever experienced such work, he informs her that he has always lived the life of an adventurer, making her speculate that he is one of those that are naturally gifted. This only serves to worsen her mood, as it took Alina 3 years to master her work, and he managed it with no difficulty, a feeling she readily shares with him. Her mood continues to worsen, so Jade offers to handle the rest of the work, but she refuses to let her pride as a receptionist be tarnished further. As she says this, her elbow knocks an object to the ground, and Jade notes that it is the remaining half of the relic Alina shattered, apparently using this precious relic as a paperweight. Jade notes that there is something written inside it, and as Alina reads the words "Quest Acceptance" aloud, the relic glows and reveals a quest document for defeating monsters. The document has no client stated, and as it fades away, the two discuss what just happened and how the Chalk Tower dungeon is unheard of. Alina remarks on its strangeness and gives the relic for Jade to uncover, stating that she has no interest in dealing with something so troublesome. The next day, Alina finds herself troubled again by her poor attempts at keeping a secret identity. She reads a newspaper discussing the details regarding the mysterious executioner, and if their location is the city of Eifer. It goes on to discuss a reward offer for the executioner for their battle against the golem. But as they never showed, the guild is now out in force looking for them, not realizing that she is in their headquarters already. As she rants about how she always manages to get into these situations, it is interrupted by her junior co-worker, Lyra. She came over to thank Alina for dealing with that rowdy customer before, but also warn her to be more careful as there are quite a few secret fans of Alina. It is then that Lyra notices what Alina is reading and asks if she is a fan of the executioner. Befuddled, she asks for clarification, and Lyra reveals that there is quite a large following for the executioner, to the point that it is often asked whether one is a Jade fan or an executioner fan, to Alina's horror. She goes on to talk about how cool the executioner is and admits that she is a fan of them as well. Alina asks how she could know if the executioner is handsome, if his face is hidden, but Lyra declares that the savior could only be handsome. Bemused and weirded out by the discovery of her strange follower base, Alina states that she's at least glad people are happy with him. Their talk is cut short when a commotion begins at the guild, and though they wonder as to why, the answer is quickly given as the highest authority of the Adventurers Guild. Glen Gallia enters the guild, with a clear purpose in mind. Alina wonders why the most important figure of the guild would just suddenly show up at the reception office, and a part of her begins to worry. The counter manager arrives and offers assistance in any manner, but Glen states he is simply here to kill time, and because he learned that the executioner was spotted nearby. Alina's panic only rises as the guildmaster assuredly walks to her desk. As he arrives, Glen simply makes some small talk with Alina and asks her if she knows what his skill is. She politely states that his skill is Subserver of Time, and it stops and rewind time in place, allowing him to see past events. Alina could not finish the sentence as it suddenly dawns on her that the feeling of dread she has is similar to when Jade appeared. Glen confirms her description and states that his ability can allow him to look under the hood of the executioner, and moreover, he has already used it. As Alina's heart beats louder and louder, the manager asks if Glen already knows the identity, to which he replies that he could not uncover it as the executioner covered their face with a mask, ending the discussion. Alina, however, only panics further as she knows she had no mask on, which can only mean that she has finally been caught. Glen goes on to say that he wishes to meet the executioner to get them to join the Silver Sword, but they have no interest. Glen leans towards Alina and quietly tells her to enter a carriage he has prepared to the guild headquarters, where they can talk more openly. In the carriage, Alina is once again freaking out over being discovered, this time by the worst possible person. Jade tries to console her, but Alina shuts that down, stating that she hates him. This causes him to enter a fetal position like Alina's, apparently finally getting the hint that she does not like him, to the rest of the party's bemusement. Lulari is baffled by Jade's state, to which the other party member, Ro, lets her know it is due to the delicate state love can bring someone in, an idea that Lulari finds equally ridiculous. The two other members of the Silver Sword are still shocked to discover that the receptionist is the powerful executioner. They both also emphasize the point that they have no interest in forcing someone to join their party, as that will only create poor synergy, and it is clear that Alina Deasy to be a receptionist. Lulari tells Jade that Alina has saved them, and for paying that debt with betrayal is not a habit of the guildmaster, so she asks if there is more going on, to which Jade states that he cannot tell. The four finally arrive at the headquarters. As they make their way to the training ground, they are greeted by Glen. Alina states that she would like them to get the matter of firing her over with, as she will not join the Silver Sword. Glen remarks that there is a misunderstanding, as he is not here to either, but rather that Alina Clover faces the guildmaster in a fight. The guildmaster goes on to say that the two will settle their differences in battle. If Alina wins, she can keep her job as a receptionist and may even be allowed a side job as a dungeon diver. However, if Glen wins, then she must join the Silver Sword. With the explanation over, Alina immediately activates her skill, and the two face each other. Glen Gallia possesses the once-in-a-century skill Observer of Time, and with it, he has gone to beat countless dungeons and stands at the top of the class of adventurers. As Glen goes on to explain the power of his skill, Alina marches forward and strikes him with her hammer, knocking him flat on his back. The spectacled lady is shocked by what happened and Alina's cheap shot. Alina, however, makes it clear that she will do anything for her peaceful life and career, and she readies the final blow. Jade comes between them but finds himself cast away with ease, to the horror of his teammates, as not even the strongest tank can stop this terror. The secretary brings herself to the fold, ready to use her skills, but finds that she could not even see the attack Alina landed on her, paralyzing her. With her piece so close, Alina jumps to land her final blow, but Glen has awoken enough to finally activate his skill, stopping time in place. As he observes the terrifying receptionists, he remarks that the young girl could surpass devils if she tried. However, victory is anything but assured, as cracks begin to form around Alina, and suddenly, she shatters her way out of the time stop, to Glenn's bafflement. He explains that the place the two are now in is his observatory, an area he can freely move when time is stopped. Amused, he cancels his skill and concedes defeat, making Alina the winner. Alina is surprised at how quickly he gave up, but Glenn explains that the battle was simply so he can observe the nature of her skills. He goes on to say that skills are ranked based on their ability to break other skills. Ordinary is broken by super, and super is broken by divine. This is only a hypothesis as divine skills have never been seen, but Alina's ability to break Glenn's skill makes her the first divine skill user. Glenn further remarks on the damage Alina caused and states that her power is wasted as a receptionist, a point that Jade concurs. Regardless, Alina's peace of mind is secured and she heads off. Jade tries to get her to stay for something, but Alina is having none of it, and as she leaves, Jade blurts something that causes Alina to stop in her tracks, that a new dungeon has been discovered. Alina is completely shocked by the news, not believing Jade, but he affirms that it is real and it is likely on the highest level of S-class difficulty. Glenn goes on to say that without a vanguard, Silver Sword cannot conquer the dungeon, but is interrupted by Alina yelling that that is not what matters. If a new dungeon appears, adventurers will begin swarming, increasing the number of quests and, more importantly, keeping the receptionist in overtime hell. Alina laments that just as she escapes one overtime hell by the Hellflame Dragon, another soon arrives. Upon hearing this, Glenn whispers to Jade asking if the executioner came to be simply so that she does not have to deal with overtime, to which she replied yes. Glenn tries to console the young lady by letting her know that this dungeon is not like others. It is a secret dungeon. It is called White Chalk Tower, and they only discovered it thanks to the message hidden within the relic Alina broke. He goes on to say that such a phenomenon has never happened in the guild's history of 200 years. The experts of the guild gathered and concluded that this incident and area is actually a part of the secret quest. Alina remarks that this was always a rumor, and Glenn agrees, but the conditions to reach the area and the manner in which this information was found have led them to be more careful. He informs Alina of this as he wants Alina to be the vanguard of the Silver Sword in this hidden quest, with the promise of full support and rewards. The reason he hid this from her is that he wanted to gauge her skill abilities and he could not have done so if she did not go at him with full force. After hearing this, Alina's aura of dread appears and makes it clear that if they want her to even consider joining them, then they need to come up with a new business plan to eliminate overtime, as quick money is of no interest to her. She goes on to ask why the Silver Sword does not just wait for their party to be complete, but Jade replies that adventurers are only considered if they have the results to back them. If they simply amble about, they have no right to call their party the Silver Sword. Alina sympathizes with their issue of being short-staffed but states that the adventurer does not have to be her and that there must be other vanguards who can take her place. With her pieces said, she marches off. In a moment of desperation, Glenn offers Alina Clover a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If she cooperates with the Silver Swords, he will make it so that her overtime disappears for good. As the highest authority in the guild, he has the ability to double the number of receptionists at the Guild counter, reducing the workload and removing the need for overtime. He further explains that she does not have to join the Silver Sword and to keep the whole matter on the down low. Alina considers that this opportunity will make her become the thing she is most reluctant to be, an adventurer. However, it also offers her the peace and stability that she so desperately longed for. After weighing the odds and confirming that her cooperation is a one-time deal, she agrees to be the vanguard. As the party cheers over Alina's agreement, she warns them that they better ensure overtime is no longer a concern. As she walks away, her thoughts go to why she was given this divine power and to the hatred she has for her past self from that day on.